August 1960, the Cold War divides the world into competing spheres of influence. In Washington, President Dwight Eisenhower approves covert operations designed to remove leaders whose politics threaten American interests. The public believes these are diplomatic disputes. Behind classified doors, the Central Intelligence Agency drafts plans to eliminate heads of state. No formal orders are written, no congressional oversight exists. For the next 15 years, assassination becomes an extension of foreign policy. June 30, 1960, the Republic of the Congo gains independence from Belgium. Patrice Lumumba becomes the nation's first democratically elected prime minister. In his independence speech, he declares, Congo's resources will belong to Congolese citizens, not foreign corporations. White House officials interpret this as communist ideology. They are wrong. Lumumba is a nationalist, not a Soviet agent, but the Cold War permits no distinction. Within weeks, the CIA station in Leopoldville receives instructions. Larry Devlin, chief of station, is told to assassinate Lumumba. The order comes through an agent identified only as Joe from Paris. No paper trail connects the directive to Eisenhower. CIA chemists prepare lethal biological material. Poison is delivered to the Congo in a diplomatic pouch. Devlin is instructed to place it in Lumumba's food or toothpaste. The operation is never executed as planned. CIA officers shift to a softer approach. They fund opposition leaders in the Congolese parliament. They pay Army Colonel Joseph Mobutu to stage a bloodless coup. They broadcast anti-Lumumba propaganda from a radio station across the border in Brazzaville. On September 14, 1960, Mobutu seizes power with CIA financial backing. Lumumba is placed under house arrest, protected by United Nations forces. He escapes in late November, attempting to reach supporters in Stanleyville. He is captured by Mobutu's soldiers and savagely beaten. January 17, 1961. Lumumba is flown to Katanga province, a region controlled by his enemies. CIA station chief Larry Devlin is informed in advance of the transfer. He does not intervene. Lumumba is executed by firing squad. Belgian operatives, including Chief of Police Gerard Soete, assist in the killing. Soete later admits to dissolving Lumumba's body in sulfuric acid. The United States government denies involvement. For 14 years, the CIA conceals its role. In 1975, the Church Committee uncovers the assassination plot during its investigation into intelligence abuses. Declassified documents confirm that American officials authorized lethal action. The committee concludes the United States was implicated in several assassination plots. March 1961. The Dominican Republic is ruled by Rafael Trujillo, a dictator who has held power for 31 years. His regime is brutal, corrupt, and deeply anti-communist. For decades, Washington tolerates him. But in 1960, Trujillo's government is linked to an assassination attempt on Venezuelan President Romulo Betancourt. The Organization of American States condemns the attack. Eisenhower decides Trujillo must go. The State Department sends retired General William Clark to meet with Trujillo on March 27, 1961. The message is simple: abdicate or be removed. Trujillo refuses. U.S. Ambassador Joseph Farland cables Washington with an urgent proposal. He recommends incapacitation or assassination of Trujillo as part of a broader covert plan. The objective? To precipitate the downfall of the Trujillo regime by August 1st or as soon as possible thereafter. CIA officers in the Dominican Republic begin meeting with Dominican dissidents. U.S. Consul Henry Dearborn and Chief Political Officer John Barfield hold secret talks with Luis Amiar Matillo and other conspirators. The dissidents request weapons. In late 1960, the CIA begins smuggling arms into the country. Pistols are delivered first, then carbines. The weapons are passed through diplomatic channels. Ambassador Farland is not initially informed of the shipments. When he learns of them, he approves. May 30th, 1961, approximately 10:01 p.m. Trujillo's car is ambushed on a stretch of highway near the capital city. He is killed with CIA-supplied firearms. The assassins are Dominican nationals, but the operation was made possible by American weapons and intelligence support. And a 1973 CIA Office of Inspector General investigation concludes the agency had quite extensive involvement with the plotters. The CIA describes the operation as a success in moving the Dominican Republic from a totalitarian dictatorship to a Western-style democracy. Undersecretary of State Chester Bowles later reveals internal conflict over the decision. Richard Goodwin, Assistant Special Counsel to President Kennedy, sends a cable to CIA personnel in the Dominican Republic without authorization from the State Department or CIA Director Allen Dulles. The cable directs operatives to obtain a request for assistance from the dissidents at any cost. Dulles withdraws the order the next morning. It has already been carried out. The role of the United States remains classified for more than a decade. July 4, 1963, South Vietnamese military officers approach CIA operatives in Saigon. They propose a coup against President Ngo Dinh Diem. Diem has ruled South Vietnam since 1955 with strong American backing, but his government is increasingly unpopular. In May 1963, security forces suppress Buddhist protests, killing 9 civilians. Diem's brother, Ngo Dinh Diem, is blamed for the violence. American officials lose confidence in the regime. CIA Station Chief John Richardson reports that South Vietnamese generals are awaiting Washington's signal. President John F. Kennedy authorizes U.S. Ambassador Henry Cabot Lodge to explore the possibility of regime change. Lodge is instructed not to actively encourage assassination, but he is told the U.S. will not interfere with a military takeover. The CIA provides financial support to coup leaders. A newly declassified Inspector General report reveals that South Vietnamese generals used CIA money to reward opposition military who joined the coup. The report acknowledges the passing of these funds is obviously a very sensitive matter. November 1, 1963, South Vietnamese generals launch the coup. Diem and his brother Ngo flee the presidential palace and take refuge in a Catholic church in Cholon. They are promised safe passage if they surrender. The promise is a lie. An armored personnel carrier is dispatched to collect them. Inside the vehicle, Captain Nung executes both men. A field-grade South Vietnamese officer later provides CIA operatives with photographs of the bloodied bodies. He tells the agency that most of the generals favored immediate execution. The CIA station in Saigon initially reports that the generals intended to give Diem honorable retirement and exile. Declassified documents contradict this conclusion. President Kennedy is reportedly shocked by the killings. But American officials knew the coup was imminent. They provided money, intelligence, and tacit approval. 3 weeks later, Kennedy himself is assassinated in Dallas. The CIA's role in Diem's death remains concealed until the Church Committee investigation in 1975, September 4, 1970. Salvador Allende wins the Chilean presidential election. He is a Marxist, but he is democratically elected. The Nixon administration views his victory as unacceptable. National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger is reported to have said, "I don't see why we need to stand by and watch a country go communist due to the irresponsibility of its own people." The CIA launches Operation Fubelt, a covert program to prevent Allende from taking office. The agency funnels money to opposition parties. It cultivates contacts within the Chilean military. Assassination is discussed as an option. The operation fails to stop Allende's inauguration. For the next 3 years, the CIA works to destabilize his government. It funds strikes, manipulates currency, and supports right-wing paramilitary groups. September 11, 1973. Chilean military forces, led by General Augusto Pinochet, storm the presidential palace. Allende dies during the assault. The official story is suicide. Witnesses report he was shot by soldiers. The truth remains disputed. What is not disputed, the CIA helped orchestrate the coup. Declassified documents confirm years of covert operations designed to remove Allende from power. Pinochet establishes a military dictatorship that lasts 17 years. Thousands of Chileans are tortured, disappeared, or executed. The United States government denies responsibility until the 1990s, January 27, 1975. The United States Senate establishes the Select Committee to study governmental operations with respect to intelligence activities. It is chaired by Idaho Senator Frank Church. The committee is tasked with investigating abuses by the CIA, FBI, and NSA. For 2 years, investigators examine thousands of classified documents. They interview intelligence officers, policymakers, and operatives. They uncover Operation MKultra, a program in which the CIA drugged American citizens without consent to test mind control techniques. They expose COINTELPRO, an FBI operation that infiltrated and surveilled civil rights organizations. They confirm the existence of Operation Mockingbird, in which journalists were secretly paid to act as CIA assets, and they document assassination plots against foreign leaders. The committee issues a report titled Alleged Assassination: Plots Involving Foreign Leaders. It identifies 5 targets: Patrice Lumumba of Congo, Rafael Trujillo of the Dominican Republic, Ngo Dinh Diem of South Vietnam, Fidel Castro of Cuba, and René Schneider of Chile. The report concludes the United States was implicated in multiple assassination plots. It states that American officials exaggerated notions about their ability to control the actions of coup leaders. It confirms that CIA officials made use of known underworld figures in assassination efforts. The committee raises a troubling question. Is there a connection between U.S. plans to assassinate foreign leaders and the assassination of President Kennedy in 1963? No definitive link is found, but the question haunts investigators. The Church Committee's findings lead to reforms. President Gerald Ford issues Executive Order 11905 in 1976, prohibiting political assassination. Congress creates permanent intelligence oversight committees, but many documents remain classified. Many operations remain unknown. Decades after the Church Committee, new documents continue to surface. In 2017, the National Archives releases 77,000 pages of files related to the JFK assassination. The documents reveal that 14 Cuban diplomats were CIA agents in 1963. They show the extent of American interference in foreign elections during the Cold War. They confirm that the CIA infiltrated Fidel Castro's inner circle, but key details remain redacted, names are withheld, operations are referenced but not explained. The full scope of CIA assassination programs may never be known. What is known is this: for more than 20 years, American intelligence agencies planned, funded, and in some cases executed operations to kill foreign leaders. These operations were authorized at the highest levels of government. They were concealed from the public, from Congress, and from allies. They were justified as necessary to prevent the spread of communism. But the men killed were not Soviet agents. They were nationalists, reformers, and elected officials. Their deaths did not stop communism. They destabilized governments, fueled civil wars, and empowered dictators. The consequences are still felt today. In Congo, the assassination of Lumumba led to decades of dictatorship under Mobutu. In Chile, the coup against Allende ushered in a brutal military regime. In Vietnam, the killing of Diem contributed to the collapse of South Vietnam and the deaths of millions. The CIA's covert operations were intended to protect American interests. Instead, they undermined democratic institutions and violated international law. They created enemies where none existed. They eroded trust in American diplomacy. And they established a precedent that the United States could decide which leaders lived and which died. The question remains, who gave the orders? Eisenhower is implicated in the Lumumba plot, but no signed directive has been found. Kennedy approved arms shipments in the Trujillo case, but subordinates acted without his direct knowledge. Nixon authorized operations against Allende, but the extent of his involvement in the coup is unclear. Plausible deniability was built into every operation. Presidents approved objectives, not methods. CIA officers understood what was expected without explicit orders. The system was designed to protect those at the top. It succeeded. The Cold War ended in 1991, but the files remain partially sealed. The operations continue to be classified. The names of those responsible are still redacted. In 2025, more than 60 years after Lumumba's death, the full story has not been told. What is certain is that the United States government authorized the killing of foreign leaders in the name of national security. These were not accidents. They were deliberate, planned operations. They were carried out by professionals who believed they were serving their country, and they were hidden from the public. For decades, the Church Committee exposed the truth. But many secrets remain. The question is not whether the CIA assassinated foreign presidents. The question is, how many more? And who decided they had to die? The answers are still classified.